I'm Jon Altschuler.
I'm Scott Bennett. We've known each other for almost 50 years.
We grew up together on the playground.
And now we're in the foreground and still growing up.
From the playground to the foreground.
Join the conversation. Okay, back on the playground, episode 10, Jon. I'm Scott Bennett. He's Jon Altschuler. How you doing?
Doing fantastic.
Episode 10, we made it.
That's right.
I didn't think we were going to make it after episode 9. That was a little crazy, but another different location. It's a little bit of a different playground, same playground, but we're in a different part of the playground, wouldn't you say?
180 degrees.
Yeah. And I like this. I hope for our
it's
viewers
where I
and listeners.
expected to be the first time.
Yeah, good.
And I was pretty upset when we were the other way.
Well, it was like we were at a new school.
It's like, hey, we have this view, and for some reason we're choosing to stare into a wall.
Yeah. But we had our logo behind us, and so this feels different. I like it.
It's better.
I'm excited about our guest today, too, but we'll get to that in a minute. Jon, I know what a fun day to be together because I think both of us are kind of excited about what happened over the weekend with our collective universities and your daughter and my daughter, both being UT people now. Mm-hmm. Your SMU ponies are in the big 12-team college football playoffs. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You were there?
I was in Charlotte. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, you had a fun time?
It was way fun.
Fans were into it?
Yes.
Were you nervous that they weren't going to get in after Saturday night?
I don't get nervous about these things.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
this is not my deal.
Yeah, but it was fun, right? It was
great.
Fun. I'm excited as a doubt. We've talked about it over the course of the last 9 episodes. I think SMU's come up in every episode, and I'm happy for the alumni. I think second to my Texas Longhorns, I was really dialed into them, and I thought maybe there was a chance they might even play each other, which would have been real fun.
That'd be good.
But both teams, Texas, SMU, it's going to be a fun few weeks of talking about that. So we have talked a lot about over the course of the season about things that we've learned. And is there anything interesting that you learned different about SMU from the experience over the weekend, like about the fan base, or were you surprised by anything? Or
so the one thing I noticed, really probably 2 things, but the first was reconnecting with people who I'd never connected with. So in my fraternity, there's 100 guys,
right?
And I took 65 of them, 70 real seriously, or had really good friendships with them,
right?
And there's a handful of guys you just don't for different reasons. And I was seated in my seats next to 2 of those guys who I hadn't engaged with much. And we had just a wonderful 2 hours talking, and I realized I had missed out on these guys.
Yeah,
earlier.
which is great.
Yeah, so I call it reconnecting with people you never connected with.
Which from our last episode and previous episodes, you talk, I think that's also part of the second tuition as well, because I've had the same experience. My last game in Austin, sat next to a guy I hadn't seen since I graduated. He did the Peace Corps, and we visited he knew about my transplant. It was like following me. It was just really nice. It was really kind, and that's fun, to sit next to a guy you probably wouldn't. I didn't even talk to this guy very much in college. He was a couple years younger, but well, I'm excited about that. And
hey, one more thing though. So one more thing about football that I learned is that if you think about SMU football, you can look at it 2 ways: that the success came very quickly, or it took a long time. And I think you can argue that simultaneously, the success was overnight and it took forever. Like people had to persist and stay at it and stay near the hoop. And then when there was an opportunity that presented itself, they really capitalized on it. And the success seemed to happen really fast. But it really took a long time of effort.
Well, what's unique about us being where we are in our life, we were both, and correct me if I'm wrong, in junior high. And there was a guy in our junior high whose dad was the athletic director when they got the death penalty, right?
Right.
So it's kind of interesting how much we followed. And I think that's why I'm so invested. I'm so happy for that. But you're right. It did. And I think the persistence for the university to stay with it, stay with football, bring it back, lean back into what its tradition is. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. All right. So interesting thought for show and tell. I just wonder, do you think these teams are good or are they lucky? Do you think luck plays any part in what happened for SMU, Texas, football in general? The concept of luck, what do you think of that?
I think both.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. You have to sometimes, I know when they played Duke, some things happened during that game.
To me, it's like luck is something that's outside of your control.
Yeah.
And so, there's lots of things that happen outside of your control that contribute to your success.
Well, as is the case for show and tell today, Jon, I brought this. Do you know what this is?
It's one of the ways we fund the education system, allegedly.
Yeah, I know. I was going to bring that up, but I'm going to actually table that when I was thinking about showing this because I knew we could go down that path and have a lot of thoughts for a future episode. But that is a Mega Millions ticket from Friday of last week. And the reason, nothing's, don't worry, I did not predict SMU's or Texas's, but there is a winner on this particular ticket. I haven't collected on it yet. I wanted you to see it first to validate it. But the Mega Millions ball, it wasn't the Powerball, but they also have a ball.
How often do you do this?
I actually did this for my wife because we have this whole theory that you never win in Dallas. You win in what we call millionaire towns. So I was in Centerville, Texas. That's where I purchased this.
So I went to Young Life somewhere in Colorado for a hiking trip.
Yeah.
And we were there and you could do these things in a grocery store.
Yeah.
And so I was 17, I probably bought $10 and I won 25.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time I gambled. And then in college, I was waiting tables at Papado and I got like $140 of cash, went to 7-Eleven, $140 of this stuff. And that was the end of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Over the years, I think it was kind of a novelty. My mom enjoyed it when it first came out, but it could do better things in our state for sure. But the particular reason I brought it in is the only winner on this card is $2, I think. But it's the Mega Millions or ball that they call it, the number was 24. So what's significant about 24? It's not the age we are, clearly.
Mark Aguirre?
No, but I did see Kurt Thomas on my way to this podcast, a former Maverick. But no, 24 is the number of episodes we've committed to next year.
Oh, gosh.
Yes, I know. So I thought that was ironic that we're going to win in this year, and I'm going to keep that $2 with me next year. It's going to be lucky for us next year. So I just thought that was fun. And I also saw yesterday this whole story that the Apollo Theater in New York is the first, the Kennedy Awards were given out last night. And they'll be on air later. I'm not promoting for any channel, but historically, they've only given the Kennedy Center honors.
What are you talking about?
Well, I'm about to tell you. They've given the Kennedy Center honors to a person, but for the first time ever, they're giving it to something that's not a person. They're giving it to the Apollo Theater. And inside the Apollo Theater, there is a tree.
Is the Apollo Theater in LA?
In New York.
Okay.
You're not familiar?
No.
Okay, so in New York, it's one of the most important, we should talk about it later and have a guest on to talk about that, but inside the theater, there's a tree that people touch. They used to do the Night at the Apollo. It was pre-American Idol, pre-any of those shows where amateur talent would go to get discovered. That's where Smokey Robinson got discovered, many famous acts.
Who's Smokey Robinson?
Again, for another episode.
What are you talking about?
But this tree, it was all about luck. So I thought that I had kept having these signs about luck.
I cannot stand indoor plants. I'm serious.
It's not alive. It's an old tree. It's just a stump. It's a stump that everybody touches for luck. And I thought, well, gosh, that's interesting. Is it really lucky? Like if they do well, then they can say it's the tree. But if not, it's not. So I just thought, we never talked about the concept of luck in golf or sports with you. So I thought that was interesting. But anyways, the Apollo Theater is being celebrated. And I thought that was interesting because this tree is inside of it is an interesting thing people didn't know about that has a lot of symbolic to that theater. And you should look it up, by the way.
I'm not looking it up. I've heard all that I want to hear about.
Well, then I won't show you the rest of the show and tell.
Apollo Theater and whatever else it was. The Kennedy Awards. What the hell are the Kennedy Awards?
You don't know about the Kennedy Awards.
What are they for?
They honor very influential people who have done great things over the year. They're in New York. It's a very prestigious honor. And they've been doing it. I don't know how far back it goes, but to receive that is a pretty big deal. It's not like the Nobel Peace Prize, but it is in its own right a very coveted thing.
For those guys.
Yes, for those people. So quickly, the other thing I brought in was this dime. It's not part of the lottery. This is a dime. Do you know who is on the dime, by the way, John?
Eisenhower.
You want to guess again, John? For a guy who doesn't know anything, you thought I don't know anything. I'll give you one more guess.
I don't recall.
FDR.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Do you know what number president he was?
He was from 32 to 44, 45.
What number president?
I know. I'm getting into it. Probably like 36.
Close enough. 32.
Okay.
And the thing interesting about him is he was the only 4-term president. Did you know that?
I did.
Okay. I wanted you to make sure that.
But I don't think he went 16 years in a row.
No, but there was up until the end of his presidency was the first time that they put term limits in place. So he was able to serve for 4 terms, which is interesting. And the reason I brought that out is 10 is the number of episodes we are on. But I also wanted to prove to you after 9 episodes that while you might know things about handwriting and math, your history could do a little better, John. So
I stand corrected.
You stand corrected again.
That's fine.
And I look forward to 24 episodes of learning next year.
Thank you.
I'm most excited about our guest because it's somebody I've known since preschool. When I thought about people that we would have on, reconnected with this friend, and just can't wait to bring him out and have our audience. I think our audience is going to triple after this guest because he's known us a long time.
Yeah.
We started our first episode with Brent Beasley, who was awesome. And the last episode of this year and this season is a guy who's known us as well. So looking forward to bringing him out and having a fascinating and really intriguing conversation with him.
Great.
You can find us on social media at Playground Foreground.
Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel and subscribe.
Okay, our guest is here. I'm so excited. It's my friend since preschool, Chris Priebe.
Hey,
Chris.
Scotty. Good to see you, bud.
John,
Great
Chris.
to see you, sir.
Hello, Chris.
Been a
Hello,
friend of
John.
both of ours.
Since
Chris,
elementary school.
yeah,
Not quite.
go back a little further.
That's right.
He's one of my heavies from before you.
Sure.
But
By the way, do you even remember that age?
well, I a little.
Okay.
A little. I know I peed a lot on my get changed a lot. Slow to learn to potty train. So preschool was tough for me. But Chris, why don't you just give us, I mean, we've reconnected, but for our listeners, our viewers, a little about who you are, what you've been doing all these years since preschool.
Yeah, I'll go quick. How's that?
Fabulous.
Well, no, Scott, first of all, thank you all both for having me here. This is a great experience. Enjoyed watching Beasley, did a great job.
Yeah.
So happy to be here today to give you my background. But yeah, I mean, we've known each other since, 50 years ago, Scott. It would have been our 3-year-old preschool class.
Yeah.
And so since that time, a lot's happened. But man, back in the day, I just remember Scott being the most gregarious person and the easiest to get along with. Just a compliment to you and who you are, and you're still that way today. So happy to do this, and not to knock you, John. you were quite impactful as well, but just not. I wouldn't call myself gregarious either. So,
And what have you been doing?
yeah. So, take it back to the 75248 days. I got out of there, went to Texas Tech, barely. Unlike you guys with the SMU connections, man, I just went out to Tech to try to, grab a finance degree, accounting degree. Ended up getting both. Found a wife, beautiful wife that I've been married to for 30 years almost. And man, we had 4 sons and just live out in Frisco and do our deal.
And professionally, what do you do?
Okay, so yeah, professionally, it's been great. So got out of Texas Tech, and about 2 years in, I got to pass the CPA exam and CPA license, and went to Southwest Airlines, where my wife actually was a temp, and was able to get an interview. And I met some guys. They said, "Come back when you have the CPA." Had the CPA, and it all worked out. Ran into just a couple of life coaches of mine that have one that's still around, one that's since passed. And just have loved it, man. I work in the finance department for literally 27 years now. So it's been a good run.
Did you work somewhere while you were getting your CPA license, or they said,
Yeah, I did. I had 2 jobs. One I would never want to do again and never want to subject anybody to doing it. And then the other was just kind of like, it wasn't great, but it was all about people, right? So the first one was just work, don't have any fun. That didn't really work for me. But I got some good reps in for a year. Okay. And then I went over to a software company, a small software company. And the people were fun, but a little too fun, if you know what I mean. Yeah. The CEO just wasn't grounded in where I wanted to be, and for a young married guy. And so it was a good job for a year. But he let me study. They were being bought out. And so I just studied for the CPA exam on the side. Found myself to be the only accountant at 24 there. Got promoted up to manager and was doing payroll to everything, cool. Collection calls even. So that was kind of fun. A lot of fun though. But yeah, so got there and then heard from Southwest in the paper. Still have the clipping of it,
Wow.
Yeah, still have it.
That's awesome.
Where you write the cover letter.
Yeah.
It was great. So wrote them and been there ever since.
Well, I found it interesting, and there's very few people I know that have stayed somewhere for 27 years. Do you have that in your
couple?
Yeah, but not. It's definitely the exception, not the rule for people I know professionally from our time. Like, our parents felt like they stayed places longer. And I think to stay there, I've always heard over the years as a Dallas guy about Southwest Airlines, Herb Kelleher, and, the history of it. And people love to stay there. Like, it's a great place to work. So when we reconnected, I knew you were doing that kind of in the distance when we weren't talking as much over the years, raising our kids. But just curious, like, what's that been like?
Sure. Well, I think the rationale for being there forever for me, I had a great influence in my life. My grandfather, who did everything for a prolonged period of time, his church service to his wife to his life was lived that way. So he kind of showed me the way. And he was a frequent flyer of Southwest. And matter of fact, I still remember his little wild turkey bottle that he had. He didn't really drink. So when upon his death, actually, my brother and I tapped into the wild turkey bottle that ultimately I think he got from Southwest Airlines, one of the promotions that they had back in the day. And so I think he was a real big influence in my life. And so it just showed me what I thought I wanted to do. He was sold steel for 20, 30 years out of by Love Field. And it's kind of ironic. I work across the street from him,
Where he was.
Yeah, where he was. So it's good. And my father wasn't exactly the perfect example of all that. So it worked out well. Yeah, it worked out really well. Yeah.
What do you remember, Chris, growing up as a student? Because I know we've talked a little bit, but do you remember, was he in your classes?
I don't recall. I just remember my recollection of people is about physicality.
Yeah,
we were both tall guys. You weren't. So that's what I remember.
Again, I was mostly, I told
I
somebody.
remember that as well.
Yeah, I was mostly a tackling dummy for the two
I
of
want to
you.
say he was on our Bowie Blazers, though.
Yeah, he was. He was. You played soccer with us. I think.
You had glasses.
No, I don't think that was me. I played with Mac. And, I played on the Cobra, and I played on, anyway. We were very, I think in junior high is kind of when you and I first probably had the opportunity to play against one another in football.
I would agree with you. I definitely remember people's size, right? Like you guys were bigger guys than I was clearly not gifted in that area. Still am not. But when you described and you sort of said, I struggled through, I don't even know how, I think you mentioned, I don't know how I passed the CPA exam even.
Yeah.
But here you are with this massively successful career and just done a lot of things. Did you think school was hard?
So Scott, thanks for double clicking on that, man. Honestly, when I was in high school, we went to different high schools, right?
Yeah,
I went to Richardson.
You went to the easier one.
I went to the easier one. Yeah.
And don't tell us it was hard.
No,
Okay.
it wasn't. It
Do you
wasn't
think
at
I
all.
belonged over there?
Probably.
Sure enough, Scotty, you would have been like number one for sure. I don't even know what it's called.
That was a miss by my parents.
Hey, well,
You would have gotten eaten up over there, too,
A lot of us.
I
would have known who to be friends with, believe me.
A lot of us went, split junior high. We went to Richardson, and so I played sports a little bit. But man, my parents being divorced, we didn't have money. We lived in apartments. We were really, quite underfunded at the time.
Right.
My brother and I. So I started working I think in 8th grade, and then in 10th grade had to quit football. Didn't have to, but it was probably the right move for me to work 30, 40 hours. I'm probably the only guy I know that graduated high school that was in the work program and split out at noon.
My sister did that.
Yeah. I mean, it was
Amy
just,
did that.
there wasn't many of us
that
were in that. So, growing up, it was a little bit harder than, we wanted it to be, but it actually led to, I think, the opportunity to connect, to try stuff that was difficult. Right. So I got to Tech, man, and I was like, there's no way I'm passing this. There's no, and I got out, and next thing you know, I just started studying, paid for the, precursor, and my world changed after that. I passed that, and it's like, oh, wow, you are, you could be somebody. I mean, it just literally, did a 180. Started getting promoted to manager. I think I was director at Southwest Airlines at 29, which nobody gets to there, now at this pace. So it was a really good thing in my life. Just worked out perfectly. My wife and I just loved it there. I still got friends there. The lady that hired me works for me today. This is 27 years later. She's now 69. She's in retirement, but she's really smart and she does a lot of work for me. So it's about loyalty. It's about friendships. It's about lifelong commitments. And one of my bosses who hasn't been there in 17 years, I spent a lot of time with him. Still just one of the best guys ever. So I think Southwest has got its finger on the pulse of humanity. Really,
I flew it today.
You did,
yeah. Thanks, man.
How was your experience?
Awesome.
No delays.
No glitches.
No glitches. You were on time.
Always on time.
Yeah.
I never have any problems with Southwest.
Yeah, Southwest has done. I flew over the holiday, and I knew you were going to be on.
I love the new bamboo cups.
Do you?
Oh yeah,
I love them.
I do. Except I ordered a hard drink in there. I was like, wait a second, it's a paper cup for
right.
Coke, Crown of Coke or Jack and Coke. Sorry, we don't serve Crown.
But why does that matter?
I don't know. It's paper cup. We just
Would
feel
you rather
like,
have plastic?
yeah, I don't know. Plastic or glass.
Yeah, I thought so too. I didn't have a drink, but I noticed that.
I love the lady who runs the department for green friendliness sits right next to me, and so she was thrilled to get them in there, and we've made a lot of great changes.
Well, you can tell her I love it.
Yeah,
seriously.
she's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting, by the way, since we're talking about that, just like how they've transitioned, because the new pretzels, the fancy pants pretzels, like out of the bag, like I noticed those, they're that little new flavor. I don't know.
Got a little kick to them. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
It's just that, you know,
carb heavy.
What they went back to was the peanuts. That was always even in their ad campaigns.
No, because guys like you, we can't do that.
Why?
We can't have peanuts. Your allergies.
No, I'm fine there. I have other dietary issues, John, but that is not one of them.
You think there'll be a pretzel allergy?
Probably. They'll be the first to have it.
Fair enough. Would you like to be our guest?
Or is there someone you would like to see on the show?
DM us through social at Playground Foreground.
We look forward to hearing from you.
We're back, and it's time for topics from the hat. John wanted to pick the first one, so here we go. Oh.
Just give it to me.
Take it. It wanted to be the first topic.
Oh my God.
What is it?
Smokey Robinson.
No, it's not. It's not. What is it, John?
Future payment.
Future of payment.
Ah, very good. Okay. Well, you're like future of payments. I've got this. I know this.
Right. All right.
So at Southwest, one of my job responsibilities for the last 27 years is to manage all the credit card expense associated with all the acceptance, Visa, MasterCard, Amex, and stuff. And so in the last, you've got one right here. You get the Southwest card?
Yeah, I love it.
All right.
Love it.
Yeah. So you know, the future of payment to me is where I've lived, eaten right for the last 27 years. I mean, we went from sending in old, I forgot what they're called, carbon copies.
Yeah.
Back when I first started to now, we've got PayPal, we've got Apple Pay, we've enabled a lot of different payment types. We're looking at cryptocurrencies, how to enable cryptocurrencies in the long run. I don't think we're quite there yet as a company to say we want to accept that, but when we do, we've got all the infrastructure built. And so that's where I sit, do a lot of work on that for the last 10 years. So future payments to me is, it's going fast, man. I mean, you've seen all these new entrants, all these, the push to pays and pulls, and bank stuff. I mean, think about all those contracts and how it works. It runs through me and my team. I got a great team that knows a ton of stuff about it. So
I just don't know. We had a guest on previously who talked about Bitcoin, and I think I mentioned that to you when we saw each other. So I thought, like, I don't know that many people who have a pulse on it as much as you do of like where it's going. We went backwards a little bit with layaway, like with a lot of the like Klarna and companies like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, what do you think it's going to look like in the next 5 years?
I think there's going to be a lot of fragmentation. I mean, I don't know if you saw what happened on the Hill a couple of weeks ago. All the senators up there and Visa and MasterCard were on there, and it was they just waylaid them. Republican Democrats waylaid these senators.
I can imagine Bennett watching that just for hours on end on C-SPAN. You watch it for hours.
Yeah. I got to be honest, I did watch it because that's my job. But man,
like C-SPAN Channel 4.
I don't even know,
you know what they said.
What is C-SPAN?
I don't know either.
Right.
Was it on C-SPAN?
It was. I got a clip, so it was narrowed down. But it was all about the senator just saying, hey, do you think you're going to maintain a 50% margin with 80% ownership of market share for the rest of your life? And he's like, there's no way. We're coming after you.
Yeah.
So I think with that and all this, creation of new products, a lot of competition that we've actually encouraged. The merchant community has gotten together. I sit on a few boards, and that's what we do, is trying to motivate competition in the space.
So you're just trying to get that 2% you get charged lowered to 1.85, or what do you get charged?
Yeah. So it's about 2.5% is what the charge rate is. But you got to remember, because of that card that you have, we actually make a ton of revenue off of it too. So we've got to kind of walk the line between both not enjoying the fee and also enjoying the fee.
I haven't paid for a Southwest flight in years.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Yeah,
because that's what it does, and it's a nice savings tool, and it's aspirational, and we're giving you 10% back to fly. I know it's only 2% when you buy, but when you fly, there's another 8, 9, 10%. So when you add it all up, it adds up to pretty quick tickets. We used to give you like buy 3, get 1 free.
Right.
Now it's probably like buy 4, get 1 free. But it's still, I mean, it means something, right? So
I was thinking, and it didn't come up.
I don't buy any. I want to be clear.
You do indirectly through your purchases at other places, because that's what in turn they buy points from us to satisfy you, and those points turn into revenue, and it's probably 20% of our revenue.
I just want to say we've come a long way from the RISD lunch tokens for the plate lunch. Did you get those?
I did, man.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah,
I was a cash buyer.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
So
I think it was an income. I think there was some income testing going on. They're like, let me look at this kid. I think he needs a free lunch.
it was awesome when I forgot mine, but we'll talk about that
Did
later.
I used to take yours or not?
No, you made sure nobody did. Thank you
Okay.
for that.
All right,
Thank you.
good.
So because I couldn't afford to miss a meal. Okay, Chris, you get to pick the next one.
All right. Well, hopefully we get a better one. This one's for John.
Smokey.
Oh,
Apollo
gosh.
Theater.
Oh, this is greatness. Buzzy. Excellent. I love it.
All right. So
Okay, so you have no idea who Buzzy
Well,
is.
he
I
met
met
him.
Buzzy last year.
Well-
and he said he was your brother. I was like, I don't really. And I was like,
Well-
yeah, I believe it.
And you say you have a
Well,
brother too, right?
yeah.
Okay, so that's just,
Yeah.
it's been time. I'm sure I knew that at one point, but older brother or younger
I
brother?
have a younger brother.
Okay, so this is older brother, and his name was Brad, but actually, the day he was, or the week he was born, he was Buzz Aldrin went to the moon, and so my parents called him Buzzy, and for the first 18 years, he had to overcome that. I haven't called him Buzzy in like 20, 30 years, and he's going to kill me for saying that on here. But everybody that I bring back in, Dangle, whatever, we go play golf with him, and he's like, Buzzy, and he's like, no, and it's not cool at 55 to be a Buzzy.
I think it's an
to be
awesome
Buzzy.
nickname, by the way.
Maybe you should readopt it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
I told him when I saw him that when John and I saw him together, actually, when John didn't realize I was your brother. And I said, yeah, that's Buzzy. And I said, Buzzy, what are you doing? And he got all upset because he says, nobody calls me that anymore. I said, I only know you as that.
Yeah.
So I've known you that long.
Grandfathered in. Scott.
Yeah, I'm grandfathered in. He didn't have any problem with it.
Yeah, he's doing
we were
great.
seated outside by ourselves in the rain
Yeah.
during a high school reunion. Everyone else was inside.
Is that right?
Yeah. John and I were sitting out. We had enough. So I'm surprised he let
kicked
me
out?
sit with him. It was like sitting at his lunch table. Again, anytime he'll let me sit at his table, I'm still taking him up on it. But yeah, it's a great nickname, by the way.
So Brad or Buzzy
Right.
is doing great. He's selling houses out in Wiley
Yeah.
and has a beautiful young daughter and 21, 22, about to graduate.
You let him know if he doesn't watch this that Scott Bennett suggests that he should readopt Buzzy. Great nickname, Buzz Aldrin.
Open up a bar.
Yeah.
Buzzy's, yeah.
All right, I'll pull the third one, but I put him in here, so
You know what's coming.
yeah. I don't know which of the last two. Oh, favorite grade.
Ooh, easy.
Okay.
You got it?
No,
Oh, for me.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm on here. We can
Fourth
each say
grade.
it. Fourth grade. Why? Who was your teacher?
Mr. Fag.
Okay, you were in the same
Love him.
class.
Yeah. No way.
Yeah, it's come up actually.
Birds, the chickens.
Yeah, so we had the baby chickens. It's come up
Yeah.
on the podcast before. You remember we discussed that?
No.
Okay.
What was this?
Remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you remember
I had it for sixth grade.
it? Okay. Oh, wow. I don't remember
It
that.
was sixth grade.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Did you redo it, grade?
Actually, true. No,
I
no.
don't
We still
believe he was
on?
our sixth grade teacher.
I had Coach Gasky for seventh grade basketball and ninth grade basketball. It's possible for teachers and coaches.
Did you have to go back to fourth grade?
No, I took them in sixth grade.
Okay, all right. I'll take your word for it. I don't remember that, but
Yeah.
we had the chickens in the incubator, right?
Yeah.
And I had a chicken. Did you bring home a chicken?
I don't know if I did or I brought it to one of our neighbors.
Yeah, your mom
But
had
yeah.
to sign a permission slip, but he was interesting. I obviously took a lot for his name at that point in time because it was derogatory and whatever. But
I saw
He
him
was
at
one
Home
of the
Depot
greatest. You
as an
did?
adult. Yeah,
he did.
How'd you recognize him?
he's just
I-
he's really tall.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you're little, someone might seem a lot more tall than they really are.
Yeah.
In real life, this guy still is very tall.
Tall.
Yeah.
He was tall.
6'7", 6'8".
Mustache, right?
Yeah.
Mustache.
Yeah. Country draw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really into math. And I think that's where I think that I would give him credit for turning math into a competition and maybe, becoming an accountant or finance guy later on. Was probably started right there in that fourth grade classroom.
You know who else was big into it in our classes is sixth grade math. We talked about this, Mr. Shoemaker. He
Yeah, I
loved
remember
math.
that. I remember that.
There was a lot of males. I guess the males must have, if they were teaching, because we didn't have that many males, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we had more probably than today, but they were into math.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they were doing, which
Plus
is,
the power of the teacher, man.
Yeah.
And
we had
hats
good
off to him.
teachers. We've talked about that, John,
Yeah.
and we've talked about that before. Did you love our teachers in Bowie?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few of them that had a love-hate relationship with
Yeah.
them. But Mr. Fag was just fantastic. He was challenging, nice. I needed all of his stuff. I think he gave me special consideration because I don't think I was on the perfect track.
Yeah.
And so he'd kind of kick your butt off to the side a little
Right.
bit. So
What was your
I didn't
favorite grade?
Like all of them.
Yeah, you didn't have one favorite?
no.
As I look back, even when years were hard, they were good years.
Yeah, yeah. We've commented, we loved our childhood. We think we
Yeah.
grew up in a pretty great time. Hence why you're here.
Yeah, I
great,
did too.
great people, great people.
Yeah.
Okay, the final topic.
Yeah.
Chris, you get to pick it.
All right. I have a feeling this is going to be for me. What do you think, John? Warriors.
Okay.
All right.
You know-
WWJH.
What is that?
Wolves.
Yeah, that's why I brought it on.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of change, but okay, we'll deal
I
with
want
it.
to talk about that. That's why I pulled it out.
Yeah.
I want to have a discussion about it. And I feel like this is the right room. I mean, when people ask you where you went to school, what do you say? What's your junior high?
Westwood.
And what was the mascot?
No one ever asked. No one ever asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair point.
So it comes up. I do. If I run into somebody that I did go, I say we were Westwood what?
It never comes up. You've never said that. You've never said
I have.
that.
I actually have.
Only in the context of
I
the
love
names
that
changed.
mascot. I love that
description.
mascot. It was the toughest of all the mascots, I feel, that we had. We had a Mustang twice and a Warrior once. And we didn't have a mascot at preschool. I just love the Warrior. It was a cool mascot in the gym. That painting, it was like intimidating for the people. I just hate that they changed it.
Yeah. I hope that we didn't do anything derogatory, growing up with that symbol, but the actual meaning of itself is strong, and I think it's great. A great mascot.
I love that it bothers you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure you do.
Really?
Yes.
It doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah. Well, obviously the change. I'm not exactly sure. It was a few years ago now, but I lived in the area. I was still in the zip code, so I knew that they had switched the school to a magnet school. We're gonna get some fact checking while we're doing this, but they made a change because obviously Warrior was derogatory towards the Native American, and I understand that was happening across professional sports and college sports, and there's some changes, but they changed it. I'd heard I don't know how I heard that they changed it to the Wolves, and I was so bent out of shape. I mean, like, I'm not one of those people, like, I do okay with change, but like, I don't know. It just was obviously like everything else that was going on. I understand that the reason to do it. Sure. But it's hard to get out of my, John says he never uses it, but when I see somebody else, I'm like, yeah, it comes up. Yeah. And I look at my yearbooks a lot because that's when I was, playing a lot of football. So I go back to my pictures and I see the Warrior on the cover of that. Is that the last year you played football?
Okay, so I have a letter to the editor, February 13th, 2021.
What was it about? Yeah.
About this.
Okay. What
Dallas Morning News. Regarding the article on the mascot change of Westwood Junior High from Warriors to Wolves, I would like to congratulate the 600 plus current and feeder students who vetted and voted on options for such a thoughtful choice. Yeah. I was a Warrior from 84 to 87 and am now proud to be part of the pack. May we all be a pack and always include everyone. Thank you for your example.
Yeah, I remember reading that. Yeah. And I knew that John had, I remember when you said it, but now that you recall it, I
thought it was voted on.
Yeah, I didn't know how they came to it. So I remember that you pointed that out. I had no idea about that. So no, I get it. I'm not, it was just like, I identify that. It's sort of like a lot of things. So it's okay that the future people don't know any different. Sure. But to me, and he says he never used it, so that's fine. But I do have my yearbook still. When we moved recently,
I still have my yearbook.
Yeah.
I still have it.
Yeah, I know.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah, it conjures up for me that's what I identify it as. I don't know. Just I hold the mascots of all my schools.
Those 600 people took something from you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've been wrong.
Yeah, I know.
This woke nonsense.
I know. It's very controversial on this podcast.
Running you over.
Yeah. Well, as is the case, I mean, like I said, I like to harken back to my football photos because that was the end of my career. I was mostly a tackle.
Remember his face mask? Remember his face mask?
Different color? Blue?
It was a T-bar.
You guys got John likes to say you guys got the good face masks.
Punter?
Yes, it was like the punter with an additional bar.
And as is the case, I was lucky to be on the team.
It was like Fran Tarkenton with a bar.
I was on what we refer to, and you boys will both know this.
B team.
No, the Muddy Putty D. The Muddy Putty D.
I remember this.
Okay,
did they let you get water? Get water?
No, we would get on the field and have our own like special time, and occasionally we'd have to run like scout team, but we weren't even that. I don't even think we were good enough to be the scout team. And I do see members of that.
Putty D.
Kyle Marquis, Clay Wall. I see all of them, by the way. Still, we still hold on. I think, by the way, they would all
know who you were.
They would all identify as Warriors too, by the way. Those guys, after you ask them, because we were the Muddy Putty D. But anyway.
Chris, it's been great to have you here today.
Thanks, John.
I have a question about something we talked about. You mentioned that you were in the work program in high school. Leave it at 12 o'clock, go work. I'm curious, what did you do with the money? Did you pay for your own expenses? Were you paying for the family's expenses? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, John, it was tough, man. There weren't easy times. So there were times where, you didn't have enough to eat. So it was food money. It wasn't messing around money. My brother likes to say, if you survive the times of drinking carnation milk, then you can survive anything, and that's, my mom did the dead level best she could, but she didn't have a ton. So
she, by the way,
still living, just turned 90 last month.
When we've talked about she
kills it.
She is a special woman.
Yeah. She's a good one.
Special woman. Marge.
She never had a bad day in her life.
No,
Yeah.
and a great mom.
Yeah.
I think like set the standard because I remember coming over to your place and always great to me. Such fond memories of your mom, as I told you the many times I've seen
Thanks,
you.
guys. Appreciate that. I'll pass it on.
And just what a good job she did with both you and your brother. I know it couldn't have been easy. And so I think it's interesting how you said, you didn't think you didn't know what was possible and how much education really, like you leaned into it. I'm not sure early you did,
Sure.
But I'm just curious, like, what did that do for you? And more importantly, how like the shaping of your 4 boys, like, talk about that.
Man. Well, the great thing, when I went to Tech, I met my wife. We subsequently had 4 sons. We've had a great life. Can't discount that enough. When I went out to Tech, I had a little bit extra money. My grandparents had died and left us some money to go to college. And so when I went out to Tech, man, it was just work your tail off, see where you get to. I didn't kill it, but I was like ultimately a 3.3 student, Jon and I are in GPA. So 3.3, not the best, but not the worst. And got out and had no idea that what was ahead of me. But man, when you sit down and apply yourself, anything's possible, to be honest.
It seems like you really applied yourself with your professional designation.
Yeah.
That CPA license.
It was huge. It was an advantage. It was like momentum. You can't replace momentum in a young man's career, a young person's career. You just can't. So getting out, I had a double major, accounting, finance. Accounting was like a 2.9, finance was like a 3.9. And I was trying to get a job at accounting firms, and they're like, "Nah, we're good." Right. No shot was I getting one of the best jobs. So I was like, "Okay, I got to do something different." And I took the CPA exam, and from that point on, they didn't care whether it was a 2.9 or a 4.9. It all worked out, and became the director of accounting operations at Southwest Airlines. Worked, had 120 people reporting to me. At one point, I'm no longer doing that role, but still on a different role. So, and it has some accounting brought back into it. So it's risk management with accounting. We built a multi-billion-dollar subsidiary called the Insurance Captive. So throughout my life, man, it's just keep going, see what happens. Don't have a perfect plan, but don't stop and see where you can get to.
Well, I have to say, I think for both Jon and I, having reconnected with you recently, and I think we'll do it more in the future. First of all, how proud I am to be your friend.
Oh, thanks, brother.
Jon feels the same. I don't often speak for him, but to see what you've accomplished, inspired by just the way that you're so humble in all that you've achieved and accomplished. But it's been so much fun to have you. I've been so looking forward to doing this, and I'm grateful that you agreed to do it. I know your wife wasn't super excited, but I promised we would keep it. And just thanks for sharing a little about what you've accomplished professionally, having a little fun with us in the hat, and wishing you so much continued future success. I look forward to seeing you more regularly. And who knows, maybe you'll come back again. Yeah, you want to come back?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
I'll see. Let's get it past Jon.
We are, by the way, there is going to be, were you at my bar mitzvah?
No.
Okay, there's another person.
I was not.
Who was at your bar mitzvah?
Apparently not.
I've never been to a bar mitzvah.
Okay, good.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
So the other thing that everybody that has been on the podcast and will be on the podcast, I'm having another bar mitzvah next year. Fantastic. For all the people that weren't invited, Jon claims he wasn't invited, and apparently you weren't either.
I don't think I was.
I'll talk to my people about that. I'm not sure what happened there, but I'm gonna have a bar mitzvah, so you'll be invited to that bar mitzvah, and it'll be your first one, I hope. And you've been to a few now, but I'm gonna do a small portion, and we're gonna have it, and all the people on the podcast plus some other guests, and you won't be left out of this one. But thanks for doing this.
Absolutely,
Chris.
Yeah, no, thank y'all. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Scott, I've done some research, and the Kennedy Center is in DC.
Where is that?
You stand corrected.
Smokey.